The Provocation Doctrine. The first Zarakai warship appeared over Earth without warning, without weapons fire, and without explanation. It did not descend. It did not threaten. It simply arrived and stayed, an obsidian crescent hanging above the planet like a judgment that had not yet decided to fall. Humanity did not panic. That, more than anything else, confused the Zarakai. For 3 full days the ship remained visible from half the world's surface, its hull refracting sunlight into sharp, unnatural colors. Commercial flights were rerouted. Satellites adjusted orbit. Militaries tracked targeting solutions they never intended to use. And diplomats waited. The message, when it came, did not reach Earth first. It was broadcast across the Dominion's internal channels, translated into a dozen ruling languages, and framed as entertainment. "Observe," announced High Strategist Corval of the Zarakai Dominion, his mandibles flexing with amusement. A juvenile species at the threshold of relevance. Behind him, a hologram of Earth rotated slowly. The Dominion had watched humanity for nearly a century, long enough to map its weaknesses, catalog its conflicts, and conclude, unanimously, that humans were unstable creatures governed by pride and impulse. Their wars were short, their alliances fragile, their media loud and emotional. According to Dominion doctrine, such species did not require conquest. They required provocation. The War King himself endorsed the strategy. King Threxel the Undiminished, ruler by blood and conquest, believed war was most efficiently won before it began. Make the enemy lash out. Make them look foolish. Make them justify their own destruction. Thus, the doctrine of measured provocation was invoked. The first step was insult. Zarakai drones violated Earth's upper atmosphere in full view of civilian telescopes. They transmitted no weapons signatures, no threat declarations. Only symbols. Ancient Zarakai glyphs meaning observe and judge. Earth's response was swift, disciplined, and utterly disappointing. No missiles launched. No fleets scrambled into orbit. Instead, the United Nations issued a formal request for communication, followed by a carefully worded demand for explanation. Militaries raised alert levels quietly. News networks debated endlessly. The War King laughed. "See," Threxel said during a closed council broadcast. "They speak. They ask. They beg without realizing it." High Strategist Corval nodded. "We escalate." The second step was humiliation. Zarakai warships disabled 3 human deep space listening stations, cleanly, precisely, without loss of life. The destruction was recorded and released through Galactic media channels with dramatic overlays and commentary mocking human engineering. "Observe how easily their eyes are closed," one alien commentator purred. On Earth, the public response hardened. Protests erupted. Demands for retaliation filled feeds and forums. Yet governments still refused to strike back. Instead, human fleets repositioned defensively. Evacuation plans were quietly activated for off-world colonies. To the Zarakai, this confirmed everything. "They are afraid of escalation," Corval reported. "They fear losing control." "No," the War King replied. "They fear losing face." Push harder. The third step was pain, applied just carefully enough to provoke outrage without unifying resolve. A remote human mining outpost beyond Pluto vanished in a brief, silent flash. No survivors. No warning. Zarakai analysts labeled it economically insignificant and broadcast the strike as a lesson in consequence. Earth went silent. No statements. No speeches. No threats. For 12 hours, human networks transmitted nothing but routine traffic. Then, quietly, every human embassy withdrew from non-essential off-world stations. Merchant fleets changed course. Military communications went dark behind layers of encryption. The Zarakai mistook preparation for paralysis. On a grand live broadcast, King Threxel addressed the galaxy from his throne of living stone, his armored bulk illuminated by ceremonial flames. "Humans of Earth," he declared, knowing they would hear it, "you have been weighed and measured. You may yet survive as servants, if you learn obedience. Continue this silence, and we will choose for you. The broadcast cut to images of Zarakai, fleets assembling just beyond human space. Enough to terrify, not enough to commit. Across the Dominion, approval surged. Across Earth, something quieter happened. In bunkers and secure chambers, human leaders stopped arguing. The debate was no longer whether humanity could fight the Dominion. It was whether the Dominion had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. No orders were given. Not yet. But the calculations changed. High above Earth, the lone Zarakai warship finally moved, adjusting its orbit like a predator circling prey it believed already broken. King Threxel watched the updated telemetry with satisfaction. They will break, he said. He did not know that humanity had not been silent out of fear. They had been listening, and they had just finished deciding how the provocation would end. The line humanity would not cross. The Zarakai mistook human silence for indecision because they had never experienced restraint without fear. In the Dominion, power was displayed constantly through conquest, spectacle, and public suffering. A ruler who hesitated did not rule for long. So when Earth did not answer King Threxel's ultimatum, the Dominion advanced to the next phase. Not war. Correction. Demonstration. 3 Zarakai cruisers emerged at the edge of human colonial space, their arrival announced deliberately, their weapons visible but idle. They did not target cities or fleets. Instead, they selected something smaller, something symbolic. Outpost Helios 7 was a listening and refueling station, staffed by 36 personnel, engineers, analysts, 2 medics. It was not a fortress. It was not armed for battle. It surrendered immediately. That did not save it. Zarakai boarding units swept the station with surgical efficiency, disabling internal systems, restraining personnel, and separating them by rank and nationality. The operation was recorded in full. Every scream, every moment of confusion, every human demand to know why, all preserved for later broadcast. 24 hours later, the footage aired across Galactic networks. A Zarakai commentator narrated calmly as human prisoners were forced to kneel beneath Dominion banners. "Observe," the voice said. "They plead individually. There is no unity." On Earth, the footage never reached public screens. Human cyber divisions intercepted the signal within seconds, quarantining it behind classified firewalls. Leaders across continents watched in private silence as soldiers and civilians alike were humiliated, struck, and forced to declare loyalty to a foreign king. Still, no retaliation order was given. Instead, evacuation of outer colonies accelerated. Civilian transports moved under escort. Shipyards went to continuous production. Quiet instructions passed through militaries worldwide. "Hold," the Zarakai noticed. "They withdraw," Corval reported. They abandoned territory without resistance. The War King's mandibles flexed in pleasure. Then their learning submission. But Dominion doctrine demanded escalation until collapse. Submission was proven only when a species begged publicly. The next broadcast would accomplish that. The captive personnel from Helios 7 were reduced to 12. The others were deemed non-essential to narrative impact. Their executions were not broadcast. Efficiency mattered. Among the remaining prisoners was Ambassador Lena Moravec. She was not a soldier. She was a linguist and civilian envoy assigned to Helios 7 only because she spoke 3 off-world trade dialects. When Dominion Marines dragged her before a camera, her hands were bound, her face bruised, but her spine remained straight. King Threxel chose to preside personally. The broadcast was announced hours in advance across the galaxy. "Witness the consequence of defiance," the title declared. Even species long accustomed to Dominion brutality felt unease. Execution of a non-combatant diplomat violated ancient interstellar conventions, agreements older than the Dominion itself. But no one challenged the War King openly. Power forgave itself. On Earth, the leaders of the Quiet Accord watched the countdown in a secure chamber. Military commanders, civilian heads of state, analysts, None spoke, as Ambassador Moravec was forced to her knees. She was allowed to speak. "People of Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands, "do not answer this with rage. Answer it with memory. Remember who we are when we decide what comes next." The Zarakai executioner raised his blade. King Threxel leaned forward. "This," he announced, "is what silence buys you." The blade fell. Across Earth, alarms did not sound. Missiles did not launch. Fleets did not surge forward. Instead, something far more dangerous occurred. Every human military, across every alliance, received the same encrypted transmission within seconds of the execution's completion. Line crossed. No speech followed. No declaration of war. Only authorization. Human cyber units lifted the quarantine, allowing the execution footage to reach the public, unaltered and censored. The effect was immediate and universal. Protests ended. Arguments vanished. Political divisions collapsed under a single, shared understanding. This was no longer about territory. It was about precedent. In the Dominion, King Threxel reclined back upon his throne, satisfied. The execution had drawn reactions, emotional spikes, social unrest, frantic communications. "Observe them fracture," he said. High strategist Corval hesitated. "Their internal signals have aligned, my king. They are no longer debating." Threxel laughed. "Then they have finally accepted war." He did not see the preparations unfolding beyond Dominion sensors. Did not know that humanity had not accepted war at all. They had rejected it and chosen something colder. The galaxy was watching. That was the mistake. King Threxel stood upon the royal war dais, armored plates polished, ceremonial guards arrayed in perfect symmetry behind him. The execution of the human envoy had driven viewership beyond any previous Dominion broadcast. Entire systems tuned in, not for fear this time, but for curiosity. For the next act, Threxel intended to deliver it personally. "Let this moment be remembered," he began, his voice amplified across star systems, as the hour humanity learned. The lights dimmed, not fully, just enough to break rhythm. Threxel paused, mandibles twitching in irritation. The technicians signaled minor fluctuation. The broadcast feed remained intact. Viewers continued to watch as the ambient hum of the dais deepened into something uneven. Then the stars behind the throne disappeared. A clean, artificial black replaced the viewing port's panorama, cutting off the outside universe as if it had never existed. High strategist Corval turned sharply. "My king," the external sensors. The floor rang. Not an explosion. Not chaos. A single, sharp metallic sound echoed through the chamber, like a struck bell. The guards stiffened, weapons rising, but their targeting reticles returned nothing. No heat, no motion, no intruder. Then, one by one, they fell. Not dead, not screaming. Collapsed. 20 elite royal guards hit the stone floor in perfect, silent synchronization. The galaxy leaned closer to its screens. King Threxel rose from his throne at last. "Explain," he demanded. The chamber doors behind the dais opened. A single figure walked in. The being was human, unarmored, unmasked, dressed in dark operational clothing without insignia, without rank. No visible weapon. No haste in their stride. The broadcast cameras adjusted automatically, framing the newcomer center screen. Across thousands of worlds, translators hesitated, then caught up. "You," Threxel snarled, "stand before a king." The human stopped 10 paces away. "No," the human replied calmly. "I stand before a consequence." The war king gestured violently. "Kill it." Nothing happened. The human glanced briefly at the fallen guards. "They'll wake in 6 minutes. I suggest you don't wait for them." For the first time in his reign, King Threxel felt uncertainty ripple through his layered hearts. "How did you breach this chamber?" Corval demanded, panic edging his voice. The human looked toward him. "Because you built it to stop enemies, not auditors." The word did not translate cleanly. The implication did. Threxel stepped forward, towering over the human. "You dare broadcast this humiliation?" "Yes," the human said. "You insisted." The war king bared his mandibles. "Do you know what you have done? You have declared war on the Dominion." The human shook their head once. No, you provoked a species. Silence stretched. Then the human raised a small, rectangular device, not a weapon. A transmitter. Across the galaxy, additional feeds activated. Tactical overlays. Timelines. Legal citations referencing ancient interstellar accords, highlighting violations, exemptions, and loopholes. The human spoke again, voice level, almost instructional. You executed a protected civilian envoy. You broadcasted. You violated Clause 7, Subsection 3. This chamber is sovereign territory, but this moment is not. Threxel lunged. The human did not move. Threxel froze mid-step, his massive frame locking in place, as if reality itself had seized him. Neuromuscular override. The human explained to the galaxy. Non-lethal. Temporary. Designed to ensure attentiveness. The human approached slowly, stopping close enough that Threxel could see their reflection in the human's visorless eyes. You believe humans would rage, the human said softly, that we would burn fleets and scream threats. A pause. We did not. The human turned slightly, allowing the cameras a clear view of Threxel's immobilized form. This is not vengeance, the human continued. This is punctuation. A concealed blade extended from the human's sleeve, compact, precise, unmistakably lethal. Threxel tried to speak, tried to roar. The override held. The human looked directly into the primary broadcast lens. Let the record show. Humanity did not declare war. We ended provocation. The blade struck once. Clean. Deliberate. Final. Threxel's massive body slumped forward, hitting the stone with a sound that echoed across worlds. The human stood, stepped back, and deactivated the transmitter. The overlays vanished. Before the feed cut, one final message appeared in stark human text, untranslated. War was optional. You chose consequence. Then the broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, no one spoke. For the first time in recorded history, an empire had not been challenged. It had been corrected. The species that ended wars. The galaxy did not explode into chaos. It went quiet. Within minutes of the broadcast's end, long-range sensors across known space recorded the same phenomenon. Fleets changing course. Dominion armadas that had been assembling along human borders powered down their weapons and withdrew into deep orbit. Some jumped blindly, without orders, commanders unwilling to remain exposed in a universe that had just changed its rules. On Zarakai worlds, the effect was immediate and catastrophic. King Threxel had not merely ruled the Dominion, he had anchored it. Authority flowed downward from his person, sanctified by conquest and spectacle. Without him, rival warlords invoked succession claims, admirals locked down sectors, and planetary governors declared emergency autonomy. No one agreed on who was in charge. Everyone agreed on one thing. The humans had done exactly what they said they would. They had ended provocation. On Earth, there were no celebrations. The human operative who had executed the king did not give interviews, did not release a name, did not return a public view. Official records listed the action as containment of escalatory threat. Nothing more. Instead, humanity spoke through structure. A formal transmission replaced the hijacked broadcast channel 24 hours later. It was simple, plain, translated into every registered language. We will not occupy Zarakai space. We will not pursue retaliation beyond deterrence. We will not accept tribute. We will not respond to provocation again. The final line was delivered without emphasis. This was your warning. Across the galaxy, reactions fractured along familiar lines. Fear, admiration, denial. Smaller civilizations that had lived beneath Dominion pressure felt something dangerously close to hope. Ancient empires recalculated their doctrines. Warrior cultures quietly archived the footage of King Threxel's death, studying it frame by frame. The message was unmistakable. Humanity did not escalate. Humanity concluded. In the months that followed, interstellar councils convened emergency sessions to reassess long-ignored statutes. The execution of Ambassador Moravec became a legal cornerstone. proof that Dominion aggression had shattered conventions first. Human legal teams presented their case without rhetoric, without outrage. They did not need to argue. The evidence spoke. Clause 7 was amended. Protections expanded. For the first time in millennia, a galactic power was formally censured, not defeated in battle, but invalidated by precedent. The Zarakai Dominion fragmented. Some remnants attempted consolidation, issuing threats meant to sound familiar. None followed through. Each transmission was met with silence from Earth, an immediate internal backlash from their own citizens, now aware of what provocation invited. War became expensive again. On Earth, historians struggled to name the era. It had not been a war. There were no campaigns, no casualty lists to engrave in stone. Yet the consequences eclipsed conflicts that had burned for centuries. Children watched the recording in controlled educational settings. Not the execution itself, but the moments before. The calm voice. The refusal to rage. The certainty. They were taught a single principle. Strength is not volume. Human military doctrine changed subtly, but permanently. Fleets were redesigned not for territorial dominance, but for surgical inevitability. Diplomats spoke less and listened more. When humans issued warnings, they were no longer ignored. Years later, a Zarakai survivor, an archivist who had served under 3 warlords, addressed a neutral council. "We believe humans were dangerous because they were violent," he said. "We were wrong. They are dangerous because they are disciplined." The council chamber remained silent. The archivist continued, voice low. "Every species in this galaxy has threatened extinction. Only one demonstrated the restraint to make it unnecessary. No empire challenged humanity after that. Not because humans conquered the stars, but because they proved they did not need to. They had shown the galaxy something far more terrifying than endless war. They had shown an ending. And in the long peace that followed, civilizations remembered the lesson written not in bloodshed, but in precision. Do not provoke humans. They will not fight you. They will finish you.